Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Youier podcast. I am your host, Elle Edwards, founder of Youier and the Blue House. It is actually our season finale, so season 8 of the podcast for the last 16 weeks. Every single Monday, I've been sharing short and sweet episodes to help you be Youier. That's you, the person you were created to be in intentional, expectant relationship with God. Culminating, that word was hard to say, culminating in today, where we have our season finale. We will be back, I anticipate, for season 9 later in the year, but for now we're taking a little break for the summer. However, if this is your first episode, if you haven't joined us before today, don't worry, you've got several episodes to go back and enjoy. And what I anticipate doing over the next few weeks is highlighting, as Holy Spirit leads, highlighting some of the previous episodes, not just from season 8, but from all of our other glorious seasons as well, highlighting those pieces that you're being invited to explore a little bit deeper. So you can look out for that. I'll be sharing those on social media. Folks who are inside the Blue House, they'll be shared for you inside the Blue House. And if you're signed up for the daily Holy Spirit Love Notes, you'll get notification of those in the weekend wrap email as well. With that reminder, actually, if you've been enjoying the podcast and you're not a member of the Blue House, come and join us, youier.com/join. If you're not quite ready to join us yet, but you'd like a little dose of love in your inbox every weekday, youier.com/love notes is where you can do that. You'll actually get a copy of the Youier book to download as a welcome gift, as well as those daily love notes. And actually, that reminder about the Youier book does really tie in with today's finale episode, because today we are ending with that reminder that ultimately your thing is for you to be Youier. Now, part of what I'm going to share today will not be news to some people. Some people will be like, I've heard this story before. If that's the case, that's fine. But there will be people who are new and haven't been here this long, so they don't know this part of Youier. But I did not have the acronym for Youier, U plus IER, until April 2021. And yet, for many years prior to that, I'd been banging on about Youier for a long time. And so for a long time, I thought Youier was simply about helping you be more of who you were created to be. And it is that, partly that, but we're not stopping there, because you could spend a whole lifetime exploring who you're created to be and miss out on the IER part, which would be tragic. And the other lovely part about the IER, the intentional expectant relationship in Youier, is that actually the more that you walk this out with God, the easier it becomes to figure out who you are. Because you can do those sort of like, well, you know, what lights me up? Why am I here? What am I excited about? That stuff was hardwired into who you created to be. We've explored that in previous episodes. But the example I've often given, and if you've listened to any of the episodes I did when I was a guest, I quite often give the example that if I woke up tomorrow and thought, I know what I'm going to do, I'm going to break bread? I'm going to bake bread for my entire street. And then I checked in with Holy Spirit and he'd be like, are you sure that's a good idea? Because he knows that I get distracted and I burn things a lot. By contrast, my mum, who's brilliant at baking, not just baking, she's wonderful at cooking as well. If she woke up tomorrow and said, I know what I'm going to do, I'm going to build a website, and then she checked in with Holy Spirit, he'd be like, are you sure that's a good idea, Viv? Because it's not what she gets excited about. And actually she would, just how I burn bread, she would probably get herself in a bit of a pickle if she tried to build a website. This is about helping you be more of who you were created to be. The person that God dreamed into existence with his love all the way back when he was laying the foundations of the world. But if you do that exploration with God, it's much more fun. There are so many quizzes on the internet. There's even a Harry Potter sorting house quiz and all sorts. Plus, you know, more serious stuff like Strength Finders and DISC and, I don't know, Myers-Briggs and all of these different tests. And they can be really good clues and they can help you figure out, you know, more about who you are. But if you do that in isolation, away from God, you really are missing out on a trick. And so that's why the acronym, the IER part of Youier, is so important. And for those of you who have not heard the origin story for Youier, it actually started, or didn't start, but a big part of it was in 2012. I was going round in circles thing finding. I was trying to start an online business, and I'd enrolled in a course, and I was like, okay, what's my thing? What am I here to do? And I went round in circles for a very long time, thing finding, and it was quite a frustrating experience, I'll tell you, until I got to the point where I went, I sort of threw my hands up in horror. That's it. I'm done with trying to find my thing. I'm simply going to be me. And along the way, I'd learned sort of some tech skills. I'm going to use my tech skills and, you know, the fact I'm a bit geeky to help other business owners. Off the back of that, I launched a VA business, which I ran for a number of years. It worked out great. I didn't really have to market. People found me. I made some wonderful friends along the way. My point is this. It's very easy to get stuck in trying to figure out what your thing is. And actually, ultimately, your thing is for you to be Youier. Now, as we explored a little bit in the previous episode, the outworking of that will look different in different seasons. So if you pick me up and put me into a different context, I will still be me. You know, I'm always going to be the one that has a story. I'm always going to be the one that finds it easy to engage you in conversation. I'm always going to be the one who will help put a smile on your face, regardless of where you sort of transplant me. And these things that I can quickly off the top of my head identify what is part of what makes me me will be true for you as well. There'll be things about you, the way that you show up in the world, those defaults, some of those things that we explored last week about, you know, what lights you up. The outworking of that will vary from season to season. And at the same time, you're still being you. So just because the specifics are different in a season doesn't mean that you've suddenly become a different person. You're still you. One of the most I think frustrating seasons of my life in terms of, you know, day-to-day contentedness, that's not even a word, day-to-day happiness levels, then let's try that word, was when my children were young, when I wasn't being Youier. I was trying to fit into this box of what I thought it looked like to be a good wife and mum, and was playing it very straight. And the reality is, my mind is incredible. It works in so many different ways and it will go off in tangents, and it really needs systems in place to help and all of this good stuff. But I wasn't embracing all of that at that time. And so whilst I'm incredibly thankful that my children were young enough not to remember angry, grumpy mum, I remember feeling quite frustrated and pent up an awful lot of the time. I can't help but wonder, do you know what, if I'd have been embracing what it means for me to be me when I was a young mum, what would that have looked like? What would my experience of parenting look like? How would I have parented? I mean, I'm very, very blessed. I've got 3 wonderful 2 adults and a young man in his late teens, so they're not little tots anymore. But 3 children, they are my children, even though they are adults and a young person. And they are wonderful human beings, and I'm incredibly proud of them. Thankfully, me being a bit pent up and frustrated as a young mum doesn't seem to have messed them up too much. Hopefully, I guess only the time will tell. It might be a decade from now, they'd be like, "Oh, Mum, I had to have so much counselling because of the way you parented." I really hope not. But actually, just a reminder to particularly anybody who's in the trenches of parenting young children right now, you are doing the best you can with the information you have in front of you in any given occasion, and you could be the absolute best parent in the world. And you're still going to make mistakes, and there's still going to be stuff that potentially your kids will need help to work through later. That's just the realities of life. And what if and this is a side note and it's not in my notes, but so I don't know who needs this reminder, but actually if we could lighten up and stop trying quite so hard to get it right all of the time, and instead allowed ourselves just to simply do the best that we can, God helping us in any situation, and that be enough. That would be a really strong place to lead from. And so if you are in the trenches parenting young children, know that you have my absolute 100% empathy and support. I remember how hard it is, and you will get through this. And if you're having a day where it all feels too much, you're doing it brilliantly, and you are going to be okay. And those days when it feels too much, also know this, it's not just you. There is a lie that will rattle around inside your head that says, "Oh, I can't possibly, admit how I feel out loud because otherwise X, Y, and Z will happen." And, "Oh, it's just me." It's not just you. It's never just you. Social media will show us this picture of all happy families because life is filtered. People choose what they want to show you. Stop believing and stop. What's that quote that I love so much? Don't compare your backstage area to everyone else's front of house. You know the junk that goes on inside your own mind in the same way that I know the junk that goes on inside my mind very clearly. When you compare your junk to what you're seeing everybody else putting out there in the world, there is a temptation that you will give yourself a very hard time. Stop it. Please, please, for the love of all things wonderful, stop it. Right? You are doing fabulously and you're doing the best that you possibly can. So take this as your reminder if you need one. Like I say, tangential side note, but somebody somewhere needs that reminder. So allow me to remind you that you are doing brilliantly and doing the best that you possibly can. But to bring us all back round, to wrap this up into something like a succinct episode as we wrap out the finale of this one. If you're somebody who's been stuck going around in circles, what's my thing? Why am I here? Let's start with actually your thing is for you to be Youier. What are those things that light you up? Go back to the previous episode. And more importantly, what does it look like for you to have that intentional, expectant relationship with God? Which takes us back, thank you, Holy Spirit, that takes us back to the book that you get a free copy of if you sign up for the Love Notes. It's also on Amazon. If you're in the Blue House, there's a copy in the library for you. If you're not quite sure what it looks like for you to be Youier, get yourself a copy of the Youier book. It's short and sweet and actionable, much like these episodes. So that really is your plaything, really, is to decide where you're at on the in the different options available. But I would certainly start with that book if you're getting nudged to do so. Youier.com/love notes. Sign up for the daily love notes. You'll get a link where you can download your own e-copy of the Youier book for free. If you don't want to do that, go onto Amazon and search Youier. It's on there as well for about £5, I think, on Kindle. But the love notes would be my preference, because then you get a little dose of God's love in your inbox every weekday. With all of that said, this is the season finale. It is a wrap. I just want to thank you so much. If you've been following along week by week, thank you so much for doing so. It's been my pleasure to share these episodes with you. When we got to the end of season 7, do you remember, if you were there, we had the we're finishing episode. I did not know we'd be back for a brand new season. I am anticipating that we will have season 9, given that we've had season 8, but who knows? I would encourage you to subscribe, because then if we do season 9, and when we do season 9, assuming it's happening, you'll get notified. More importantly, we have touched on some subjects today which some people need. So if there's somebody who needs this reminder, whether it's a reminder about parenting or whether it's a reminder about you being Youier, would you do me a favour, share this episode with them? Because like you often hear me say, I don't know who I don't know, but you know who you know. And do so with a great big thank you from me. Like I say, it's been an absolute pleasure to share these episodes with you. I'm excited for what's next. Have yourself a wonderful summer. Look out on social media and via email for some of the good stuff we've got coming up. And I look forward to catching up with you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.